Hero here for Umbra Games with a review of Desert Strike: Return to the Gulf, played on Super Nintendo. My recent co-op foray into Avalanche Studios' Renegade Ops made me think of this game, as they're both kind of the isometric military shooters with a wide open map and objectives to complete. Now, I couldn't remember if I'd played Desert Strike as a kid back when it released in 1992, but I do remember going through Jungle and Urban Strike in the following years, but not Desert. Turns out, I didn't really remember this game at all, or the fact that it only had 4 stages. It took an hour or two of practice run-throughs on stages 2 through 4, but I persevered and took down the Middle Eastern dictator madman General Mubaba in his 16-bit glory. In Desert Strike, you pilot a lone US Apache tasked with fighting an under-the-radar war with the Middle East. Every campaign is begun by choosing a co-pilot and then taking off from your frigate. There are a few co-pilots to choose from, with the best being MIA at first, but he can be rescued in campaign 1 or 2. The co-pilot's pretty important because although you control the motion of the chopper, when you press Y for your guns or B for your Hydra or A for your missiles, they're the ones doing the aiming, sometimes contrary to where you think they should be. So, rescuing the missing Valdez as quickly as possible is important. Each campaign is comprised of 4 to 8 missions that mainly focus on destroying buildings or other targets. You have a map that is accessed at any time by using the Start button, and you can filter it for a specific objective, and also show you where landing zones, enemy units, and the non-hidden fuel barrels and ammo crates are located. While you often will have access to multiple objectives at a time, most of them are better solved in the number order presented, as you're taught in the first campaign. They're the satellite dishes that will make enemies inexplicably stronger when they're under their cover. The screen will flash Danger Zone when you're in such a location, and it's often advised that you leave those premises immediately and come back at a later time. These Danger Zones seem to give enemies twice the life, requiring you to have twice the ammo to take them down, and their range will often exceed yours, making a very difficult approach. I kind of learned this lesson the hard way in the POW camp mission of Campaign 2, as even though there weren't any satellite dishes in the area, knocking out one of the other 5 objectives before it removed the Danger Zone, which was near impossible to do otherwise in the 4 or 5 attempts I made. In addition to limited ammo that can be restocked by picking up ammo crates, fuel barrels are a necessity, often needing 6 to 10 per campaign to keep you in the air, so knowing where they can be found and planning a route to objectives is important. In order to pick up items, you must hover over them so your co-pilot can drop the winch and pick it up. Fully capped, your Apache has about 600 armor count, with some tanks being able to do probably close to like 100 damage per shot, so armor refilling is important. While you can find some armor restoration crates by destroying some enemies or buildings, your main source is by helping civilians and MIA soldiers, as well as capturing specific enemy scientists, where your co-pilot will drop a ladder for them to climb up, or go down with the ladder for the hostile pickups. You can carry up to 6 passengers at a time as you haul them back to one of the 2 to 3 landing zones per map for 100 armor for each passenger. Now, it'd be remiss of me not to include Choplifter in the obvious list of influences for the Strike series, although it's probably been decades since I've touched one of those. You begin each campaign with 3 lives, and I found 1 additional hidden extra life by destroying buildings on each map. If you lose all 3 lives, you start the campaign over. Considering how early this game released in the Super Nintendo's life, the sprites and textures, as well as the basic use of 3D models, are fairly solid. The 16-bit graphics of the General and others make me laugh, as I wonder if someone dressed up as a model, which makes me think back to some of those super cheesy live-action Command & Conquer cutscenes that EA has done. Every map in the game was about 20% water and the rest desert, so the scenery never really changed much. Even the cities were just diamonds of buildings in an otherwise arid sandy climate. The final mission does take place at night, so the sand is purple to attempt to vary it up, but overall, there's just not a whole lot of diversity in the assets. I mean, we are assaulting the desert, so I'm not really sure where else it could have gone necessarily, but aside from the purple, I'm not sure anyone could really look and tell what stage you were on at any given time. The basic controls involve pressing up to move your chopper forward, back for backward, and left and right spin you clockwise or counterclockwise. You can either hold L or R and activate a hover move, allowing you to perform a slow strafe to help dodge incoming fire. Now, unfortunately, the best tactic for most enemies was to position them just off the screen and have your co-pilot start firing as you kind of adjust with the hover to make sure you could hit. Now, you can often hit these targets without them even bothering to stir. Of course, you're going to take advantage of this as often as possible, and really only becomes difficult when you're having to hurry and try to protect something like the oil fields in the last campaign. You just don't have the time to sit there off screen and hit him with a gun. But it's amazing to me that the co-pilot can hit things off screen, but when you're a couple feet from a target like the towers around the aforementioned POW encampment or the oil pipes on the docks, you keep hovering, just trying to fine-tune that shot to find that spot that finally makes the bullets go where they're supposed to. There were several moments that I just wish the chopper fired at the same angle at the same distance directly in front instead of using the co-pilot. Now, it's been a while since I've input passwords to play a game to save my progress, and it made me think back to that graph paper notebook where I used to store them. Pretty sure I have Jungle Strike passwords in there. I wonder where that thing is. It is interesting this day and age to go back and play the first title in the series of 5. The first 3 are available on SNES and Genesis, as well as some other ports, while Soviet Strike was on Saturn and PS1, and the final game Nuclear Strike was on PS1 and PC, as well as a port called Nuclear Strike 64 on Nintendo 64. It brought back some good memories, made me crave some Taco Bell, and when not cursing at my co-pilot, I found myself having a pretty good time. Rated as an isometric combat flying game, Desert Strike hits a 52 out of 100 on my 1 to 100 scale. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. Have to go back to those roots occasionally for some retro objective reviews. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel for updates or follow me on Twitter @Umbra Games.